How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Crossing the Line. As always, I'm Sergio Cano, Matt Intrikin, Brian Kilman, fellas. How was your Monday thus far?
It's been a great Monday. How about you, Serge?
Pretty good, pretty good. You know, it's always a pleasure being back here, doing what we love. Brian, how are you doing?
It's been a good day, Ready to talk some sports, Sergio.
Let's do it. Well, let's start off with a little bit of MLB, fellas. There's a big trade going on. Dodgers acquired Mookie Betts in a deal that involved 3 teams, 8 players, a draft pick, and a lot of cash. And so, Brian, who do you feel won the Mookie Betts trade?
I think ultimately the Dodgers won this trade because they were one step away from winning the World Series, and we could get in a discussion about the Astros and the Red Sox cheating, so the Dodgers might have won the World Series. But the Dodgers are now fully equipped to win the World Series because both Mookie Betts and Cody Bellinger could both finish very high in the NL MVP race. And David Price was included in this deal. And although he was more of a dud than expected when he played for the Red Sox, and he didn't show up in the playoffs that well, he's just as good. Kenta Maeda went to the Twins, and he wasn't much better than David Price, other than we saw him play better in the playoffs. But Maeda had a 4.04 ERA last year, 10-8 record on a good Dodgers team.
Right.
So I think the Dodgers won this trade because they're equipped to win the World Series this year as well as the next couple years.
Oh, Matt, what do you have to say?
Here's what I want to say, Brian.
Oh, this is always exciting.
LA has always been one step away from the World Series, and they never win it, knock on wood. But let me tell you something. This deal, I think, is like an artichoke. You have to work a little bit to get to the heart.
Oh.
Okay, listen.
Matt coming at you guys. They enjoyed that.
The Red Sox saved a lot of money, $70 million over the next 3 years. That's not the important part. Here's the important part, is that the Red Sox got not only the Dodgers' top prospect, the number 1 prospect, they also got their number 3 prospect. And those are 2 MLB top 100 prospects, of which the Red Sox only have 1 MLB top 100 prospect. And that guy is number 77 on that list, okay? Betts also, here's the other thing. Mookie Betts was going to want $400 million after once he becomes a free agent. All things considered, the Red Sox had to do it. They had to avoid the tax, and they had to do what they had to do. And it's not going to help their odds for winning the World Series this year. Maybe it will. There's a small chance. But maybe they won't win the World Series this year. They could win the next 3 World Series.
I don't know about that.
That's a bold statement.
I don't know about that, Matt, because just because they have some top prospects, we've all seen these prospects sometimes don't work out. It's hard to work up through all of the minor leagues to get to MLB, and then you got to face these great pitchers you've never seen before in your life, especially some pitchers that the Yankees have now that the Red Sox are going to be seeing all the time. And I think, like you said, Mookie was going to demand a max contract from the Red Sox, and they had to get rid of him. I think the Red Sox should have gotten rid of him earlier to save that money and get a little more from it. And I think the problem with that lies in the rookie contract situation in the MLB, because these players come in and they get a rookie contract where they're with the team for 7 years before they can become a free agent. So some of these players are 30 before they ever become a free agent. And I think that's where the problem lies, because most of these players have already peaked by the time they're 30, and they go get a $300 million deal, and it doesn't work out. But I think Mookie Betts got a good deal. He's going to get a bunch of money. But in 2016, Mookie Betts made $500,000 in that rookie contract.
Wow.
He finished 2nd in the AL MVP.
That's the way the world
He got a
works.
Golden Glove and he got a Silver Slugger. I think those rookie contracts are the problem. And if we just paid the best players the best money instead of, you're a rookie, or, you're a young player, it's 3rd year in the league, and he made $500,000. I mean, I wouldn't complain about $500,000 myself, but
that'd be nice.
But
In terms of baseball money.
we see Manny Machado's making a lot more money than that every year, and Mookie Betts is arguably a better player.
I hear what you're saying, Brian, but don't change this conversation to something it's not.
Oh.
don't get mad at the way the car drives. It gets you from point A to point B
Oh,
either
keeps
way,
them coming.
okay?
Yes.
Brian, listen, David Price, who knows what kind of profit the Dodgers are going to make off of that. He's been inconsistent at best, periods of good, lots of periods of bad. Nothing what the Red Sox paid for, not what their money was equating to. And I have a hunch, I have an instinct,
Oh,
Dodgers are going to get the same feeling. Maybe they get what they want, Mookie Betts, but David Price, I don't think so. And let's not forget that they also lost Ryu, one of their better starters,
Right.
one of the good starters in the MLB, and no Maeda. Of course, I know he had his struggles last year. And Price, I think, does not equal what Ryu gave to the Dodgers.
that's fair enough. I just think Mookie, with the Red Sox, put up a lot better numbers than we expected, especially against when we compare him to Red Sox legends. He had 42 wins above replacement in his 6 seasons with the Red Sox. You know how many Dustin Pedroia had in his 14 seasons? 51 wins above replacement. And Dustin Pedroia was a legend in Boston for a while. And Mookie Betts put up similar wins above replacement as Wade Boggs did when he played for the Red Sox.
Well, before we move on to the next topic, any last comments? You guys look like you guys got it all out. Are the Dodgers winning the World Series? Are they favorites now?
It's tough to say. I mean,
Here's all I want to say is that the number 3 prospect, Jeter Downs, who is a shortstop, I think, it's a sign Jeter is the new shortstop for the Red Sox. Yeah, that's a mean middle infield. Jeter and Xander Bogaerts. I don't got a hunch, bet a bunch, right now.
I don't know. I think obviously it's tough to say. The Dodgers are going to win the World Series this year. They were probably the favorites, especially in the NL, and then we see the Nationals beat them in 5 games. So, tough to say.
Right. Well, moving on to the next topic. If you were a little bummed out that the NFL is over, hold your tears there for a second, because the XFL is here. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, Week 1 just concluded of the XFL. And to say it was attention-grabbing is an understatement. Fellas, in the first week, we had projectile vomiting on the field, multiple F-bombs. We had a drunk streaker. And my favorite part, referees using Xbox controllers to review certain calls, which is just absolutely hilarious. It looks like they're just having fun. Fellas, that being said, can the XFL last? And how long can it last? We all saw what happened with the AAF and how they didn't really last long at all. And they got into some money issues, some financial issues, and they were just done. Vince McMahon, I think he has a good plan, and I think this could work. That being said, Brian, how long do you think the XFL could last? And what did you think exactly after what you saw Week 1?
I think it can last a while. It was exciting. I watched a couple of the games. It was fun. The in-game interviews were a lot of fun as well. The quarterback throws an interception. Right afterwards, they're having an interview. Kicker missed a field goal. Right after, they say, "Why'd you miss that field goal?" It's fun. That's fun to watch.
Right.
And I think it was popular too. 3.3 million viewers on that first XFL game of the season, as well as 17,000 fans at every game, which is pretty good for XFL, I think. And I think it just makes it more fun, especially with the point changes. When it came to, you can do a 1, 2, or 3 point extra point after the touchdown.
Right.
And I think it just makes it a lot more interesting. And I think the XFL will fill the hole of the NFL in the springtime.
I think with situations like that happening, it's going to drive the ratings up. People want to see entertainment, and that was pretty entertaining. All that had nothing to do with the football aspect of it. So I think it's heading in the right direction. We'll have to see as time goes on. Matt, what do you think about it?
Here's my perspective. We always talk about the American dream, and here's what I think the American dream is. Finding a home, finding a family, and most importantly, never having to work a day in your life. What I mean by that is that the XFL has allowed 400 or so players to be a kid for a little bit longer and do what they love for a living. When you do what you love for a living, you never have to work a day in your life. And I think that's the wonderful thing about the XFL. It's providing jobs. Sure, it's a good source of entertainment. It's a great source of maybe we find some hidden gems out there. Players can develop. We can maybe look at new rules that can translate to the NFL. But that's the great thing is that the XFL has so many benefits, and you got to look inside a little bit to see them sometimes. But I think this is a great thing and can be a great thing for a long time.
Right. I feel like it's also important that they're exploring the possibility of not, ruling out like pursuit of early college players that are not necessarily eligible for the NFL and, could develop their skills like you were saying in the XFL where there is ex-NFL players playing and, gives them, something to do around this time and another entertainment and, football almost year long. So I think it's a great idea. And I mean, before we move on, you guys have any other last comments about the XFL? You guys have a favorite team? I haven't really. There's 8 teams, and
Yeah.
I feel like I need to dissect them.
Still trying to memorize the name. What do they have, like the Snapdragons,
Yeah.
the Ravenclaws?
I think those are very unique. Yeah.
Yeah, I think one thing I thought was cool is both teams bring their own balls. So when one team's on offense, they're using their own balls. So the defense, if they get an interception or a fumble or something, they have the other team's ball, and I think that's pretty cool. It's not just an XFL ball,
That is.
You pick up the fumble and you just have that ball in your closet or your trophy shelf. I don't know what these guys do, but
Can they inflate and deflate the balls to their own specifications?
Oh, okay. I see what he's doing there.
I don't know.
I
That
don't
is
know.
interesting.
I guess we'll have to see. Time will tell. Let's switch back, or let's switch to a little bit of hardwood floor sports. The NBA. It's been an exciting year, and fellas, there's a lot of exciting teams, a lot of exciting players on both the East and West, and we're really starting to see kind of solidifying a little bit of the playoff pictures. We're around 50 plus games in, and we're potentially seeing the first playoff, the first round, playoff matchups. That being said, Matt, who's your NBA dark horse or dark horses if you have more than one?
The team that I really like and the team that I think has wildly underperformed, for me, it's the Portland Trail Blazers. I think we all know what this team can do, what they have done in the past. We know the power of Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum, and I think this team is also just really well balanced. I like who they have coming off their bench. After Lillard and McCollum, you have Hassan Whiteside, and you got Carmelo Anthony, former NBA elite, who I think is still productive, and still Rodney Hood I think does great things, and they've proven that they can be at the top. They can compete with the top teams in this league. They've got wins against Utah, Miami, and Houston, and they're hot going into the All-Star break. They're 7-3 in their last 10, and I think that they're 4 games under 500, but I think going into the All-Star break they're hot, and they can keep this momentum going, and I think they can be a great playoff team.
Wow. So you think they could beat out the Grizzlies? Obviously the Grizzlies are younger and they haven't been there. They're playing well. That being said, you could tell the Blazers are playing with a little bit of sense of urgency. They got a little ended up on the short end of the stick against the Jazz last game, but
when you look at what Memphis did at the trade deadline, I don't think they're planning to win this year.
No.
Okay, they're planning to win in the future, and
Right.
that does not do much for the culture surrounding Memphis.
And the Blazers, they had a few injuries here and there, and McCollum hasn't really been playing like he did last year in the playoffs where he played incredible. That being said, Damian Lillard is holding it down, so you never question that guy's heart and passion and leadership at all. Brian, who's your dark horse?
I'm going to have to go to the East and say the Miami Heat are my dark horse. They're right in the middle of the pack there in the playoffs. They're going to make the playoffs in the East because there's a lot of really good teams in the East, and then there's some bad teams. I don't know. I'd be surprised if the 8th seed can even get within double digits of the Bucks in the playoffs. So the Heat are going to make the playoffs, but I think they have a chance to go far in the playoffs when that comes around. They're the second best three-point percentage team in the NBA. They're shooting a lot of free throws. They're getting fouled, third most in the NBA. And speaking of three-point shots, their best player, Jimmy Butler, he's got 20 points per game. and he's only shooting 25% from 3 points so far this season, and he's a career 33% shooter from behind the arc. And I think if he improves and the rest of the team keeps shooting threes like they do, I think the Heat will be a very dangerous team when it comes to playoffs. They just added Andre Iguodala, former NBA Finals MVP when he played with the Warriors. Really skilled player, not to mention his leadership he brings to the team. Tyler Hero looked really good rookie. He got hurt a little bit, but I think they look like a really good team. And the other person they brought in with Iguodala is Jay Crowder. And in his first game with the Heat, he put up 18, got 11 rebounds. And I think they're a good all-around team. Jimmy Butler leads the team with 20 points per game. Not as flashy as other teams, but everyone's scoring.
Right. I also agree with you. The Heat are a nice team, fun team to watch. They have Nunn, Hero, Bam Adebayo. All those players really are kind of buying into the whole, the team aspect of just winning together. And you look at the standings, and you have the Bucks, Raptors, Celtics, and Heat in the East. And then you look at the West, Lakers, Nuggets, Clippers, Jazz. My dark horse, I'm biased, so I'm a Nuggets fan. I think they've been playing incredible. They had a huge win against the Jazz with only 7 players. They've been facing some injuries, and they're battling the Clippers for that second seed. And they got a lot of experience last year. That being said, the Clippers are a little scary. They have 4 players that average more than 19 points per game, or 3 players. No, actually like 4. And I think they could be, but everyone expects those teams to make some sort of a push. That being said, the West, the Rockets, maybe the Mavs. I think the Mavs cooled down a little bit. The Rockets with the whole small ball experiment is very bold, and I think it might come back and bite them in the playoffs just because how are you going to guard Rudy Gobert, Nikola Jokic, AD, players like that. And in the East, 76ers got to figure out some things. I feel like, they're kind of just in the middle. They've always been kind of that team to get to the second round and lose. The Raptors, hats off to the Raptors, 14-game winning streak, holding it down. You never know. They have all the confidence in the world coming out from a championship. So I think it's exciting. Like you said, some of the teams in the East, the Pacers have been playing pretty bad, and you'd expect them to get better with Oladipo returning, and then no one really else is a threat, especially. And then the West, the Thunder, they're all right, but I don't see them making much noise. So, Matt, do you have anything to say?
Well, I really like the Miami Heat too. You look at their core group of players, and Butler and Crowder, Iggy and Crowder, I think are both 2 guys who can and have done it in the playoffs, proved themselves in the playoffs, and I think that's what you need in a playoff team more than anything. No matter what your sport you're in, can you keep your nerve? Can you perform under pressure in those few seconds where it means most, where it means the whole season? Can you do that? And Andre Iguodala, I think, is a guy who can certainly do that and be that guy for the Heat if they need him. And Jimmy Butler has a day where he's not performing. Iguodala can be that guy.
Right. Okay. Well, moving on to the next topic. All-Star Weekend is coming up. That being said, Lebron versus Giannis' team. This is exciting because I'm going to ask you guys a question where I feel like I know the obvious answer. Matt, who has a better team? Team LeBron or Team Giannis?
Oh, it's Team LeBron, and it's obvious.
Yeah.
Sergio, it's obvious. Contrary to what Brian may think, but, Brian is in the minority for how many times he's right on this show. Let me tell you something. The only numbers you need to know is that on Team LeBron you have 3 MVPs and 5 championships between these teams. And you know how many of those you have on Team Giannis? 1 MVP and 0 championships. I rest my case.
Well, I guess
Wait a minute.
Siakam's got one.
Yeah.
I think, Philip.
Oh, I'm sorry. 1 championship.
Right. Brian?
I think while LeBron has a flashier-looking team, starting lineup especially, got AD with the first pick in the draft, let's call it. I think Giannis has some hidden gems, especially when it comes to the bench. Chris Middleton's having a really good season, 20 points per game, and he has the chemistry with Giannis. Both play for the Bucks. Rudy Gobert is good, Jimmy Butler, and I think Donovan Mitchell with the last pick was really good. I think he's a point guard who can come in and put up numbers. He does it for the Jazz. And even a lot of people disagree. Joel Embiid was the second pick, Johnson's first pick, And the 76ers aren't looking that good, and they look a little shaky. You thought they would have been better. They got Al Horford in the offseason. They already had Embiid, Ben Simmons. But Embiid's having a good season, 23 points, 12 rebounds a game. On the other side, Jokic, 21 points per game, 10 rebounds. I mean, he's no slouch. But I will say Kawhi is on LeBron's team. It's hard to beat Kawhi and LeBron at the same time.
Right.
And here's the other thing, Brian, is they can make an argument on Team LeBron. All 5 of those starters are the best player in the NBA. And
Okay, yeah.
Whoa.
when you take into account the experience, the championships, and all that, I don't think it's an argument.
I don't know. I think you look at somebody like Kemba Walker, he can show up. I think Trae Young, another starter on Giannis' team, can play. And I think it really comes down to LeBron, AD, Kawhi, Luka, and James Harden can't play the whole game.
Right.
And people like Rudy Gobert is going to come in and I think put in work against LeBron's team,
Okay.
as well as just Kyle Lowry, Donovan Mitchell. I think people coming off the bench for Giannis' team are going to show up.
Right. I feel like I know what you're saying. Starters look more impressive on LeBron's side than Giannis's reserves. They could put up some points and really hold it down. That being said, they got Siakam, who's been playing great. Bam Adebayo. They have some newcomers, which is exciting. It's always exciting to see new players come in. Trae Young. Ingram's been averaging 25 points per game, and he's been playing like an all-star, well-deserved. So, I agree. I think it's still LeBron has the edge just because, you have LeBron and basically the only guy that could really guard LeBron, Kawhi Leonard, on this team.
Mm-hmm.
But that being said, I think it's going to be fun and exciting, and I guess we'll see who really has a better team,
Yeah, I think, well, obviously, some of the rule changes this year were odd. That's
Yeah.
nothing to do with the lineups. It's just
Weird.
some weird rules going on.
I think
And
it'll be fun.
it could be fun, but also could just be weird. I don't know. I just let them play basketball. That's what I think they should do. But it could be fun. Maybe it'll be a more enjoyable game people might watch this year.
What were some of the rules that changed? I knew there was a few, but
Well, for one, in the fourth quarter, it's like an untimed quarter, and they play the team that's winning plus 24 or like 24 more points. That's how you win the game. So whichever team's ahead, they have to score another 24 points, or the other team has to score the winning
And the
team.
first 3 quarters are all games in themselves.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Wow. Well, yeah, that being said, I didn't really have much knowledge on that, but that being said, I feel like it's going to make it a lot more interesting and see really the competitive spirit come out on all those players. Well, that concludes our episode, but before we go, we are going to talk about our shout-outs. So my shout-out goes out to Khalil Lewis, who projectile vomited for, I think it was the Houston Roughnecks. Shout out to him. There he is. Yeah, that's. I don't really need to
nervous.
say anything about that. A little nervous, but Matt, who's your shout out?
My shout out goes to the Derek White, the Colorado
Hey.
product, for being a finalist for the 2020 Tokyo Olympics.
Nice, good stuff.
All right, fair enough. My shout out, I'm gonna say, bon voyage, Philip Michael Rivers. Moving on from the Chargers, he's been there for a while, and best of luck to him.
Yeah.
He'll go play for the Jaguars or something, get some more money. But I'm happy he's off the Chargers. He's been sort of hasn't.
For the best.
The
Yeah.
Chargers have been good enough to win championships, and they definitely haven't.
Yeah. Well, thank you everybody at home and on online watching. It's always a pleasure. As always, join us next Monday and see you later.